Pardon? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Is it okay now? Should I start?
Yes, Shravan.
Okay, fine. Screen is visible now?
Sir, you have not shared your screen.
Okay, fine. Now it is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. See, we'll discuss one more element. There are 12 points so that this time can be used. Which element you want? Exceptions are already done. Na?
Yes, sir.
So I'll take copper 29. According to Aubert principle, its electronic configuration must be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d9, according to Aubert principle. But since it is exception to Aubert principle, so one electron from 4s will be shifted to 3d so that its electronic configuration will be 4s1, 3d10 instead of 4s2, 3d9. So instead of 4s2, 3d9, its electronic configuration will be 4s1, 3d10. Now there is a question why this one electron from 4s will be shifted to 3d. Because when one electron from 4s will be shifted to 3d, then this 3d will be having completely filled configuration. So will be more stable. This will be whenever orbitals are completely half filled. Whenever orbitals are completely half filled or completely filled, then symmetry will be more, greater symmetry and greater symmetry and greater exchange energy. So whenever orbitals will be completely half filled or completely filled, symmetry will be more and exchange energy will be more, due to which this will be more stable. So this is not excited state. This is ground state configuration only. Now, second point, sorry, first point. This first shell is having 2 electrons. Second shell is having 8 electrons. Third shell is having 8 plus 10, 18 electron, and fourth shell is having 1. So 2, 8, 10, 28, and 1, 29 period. What about period? Since here shells are 1, 2, 3, 4, so period will be 4. Since last electron enters into D subshell, so it's a D block element. And as we know, all D block elements are always heavy metal. All D block elements are always heavy metal. All D block elements show variable valency, and all D block elements show variable oxidation state. Variable oxidation state. So 6 points are already covered. 6 points are covered. This is the seventh one. This is the seventh one. That is Bot's. That is Bot's or orbital electronic configuration. So you have written here for 4s and 3d because according to formula, 4s and 3d electrons play most important role in determining the properties of D block elements. So you'll be mentioning here 4s and 3d only. Now see, this was 7 point. How many unpaired electrons are there? How many unpaired electrons are there in this case of copper? Unpaired electrons here are unpaired electrons here are unpaired electrons here are 1 only. Since one unpaired electron is present, so it will be paramagnetic in nature. Those which are having unpaired electron will always be paramagnetic in nature. What does it mean? It means can be magnetized temporarily. And then since unpaired electron is there, so its magnetic moment will be 1.8 pm. Why 1.8 pm? Why 1.8 pm? Because one unpaired electron is there. Since one unpaired electron is there, so magnetic moment will be 1.8 pm. Magnetic moment will be 1.8 pm. If 3 unpaired electrons will be there, then 3.8 pm. If 7 unpaired electrons are there, 7.8 pm. Bm is the unit of magnetic moment, that is Bohr magneton. 11th point. C, it's a d block element. Unpaired electron is also present, so will always be colored. Those elements which are having unpaired electrons and are from d block are always colored. Usually d and f block elements are colored. S and P block elements are colorless, white or light colored. So 12th point is group. See, in this box electronic configuration, how many electrons are there? In this box electronic configuration, how many electrons are there? 11 are there. So whenever in this box electronic configuration, a number of electron is more than 8, that will always be group number 11, and group number 11 is of group first B. Group number 11 is of first B group. So these are the 12 points related to this copper. Like this, we'll be doing 12 points for so many more elements and questions they can ask you from this on. So now I'll be starting the chapter. I'll be starting the class. It was just a revision so that if any point from these 12, if they'll be asking related to copper, then also we can handle. So I started this so that time won't be wasted, time can be used. So just for that only, I started this. Now see, we will start from the fresh. Now see, John Dalton, now we'll be starting the new topic. John Dalton gave atomic hypothesis. John Dalton gave atomic hypothesis to explain the loss of chemical combinations. And as I already told you that he was the one who said that atom can't be divided further into smaller particles. He was the one who stated this, that atom can't be subdivided further into smaller particles. He was the one who stated this, that atom can't be subdivided further into smaller particles. Atoms can't be subdivided further into a smaller particle. That is, atom is indivisible. This was given by John Dalton, that we have already discussed. So now after that 12 point, we'll be discussing the next topic. We'll be talking about the next one, that is cathode rays. Cathode rays, who discovered cathode rays? Cathode rays discovered by William Crookes. in 1879. Year is not important, but we should know who discovered cathode rays. So, you know how cathode rays can be produced? How cathode rays can be produced? Cathode rays can be produced due to the bombardment of the molecules of gas inside the discharge tube by the high speed particles, that is electron, which are emitted from the cathode. But after some time, they start originating from the space between cathode and anode. So, production of cathode rays can be done. This is a discharge tube. This one is cathode, and this one is anode. This is suction pump. This is suction pump. And this is glass discharge tube. If there is a normal pressure inside the discharge tube, then emission from this cathode rays won't be possible. So if there is atmospheric, there is pressure inside the discharge tube, atmospheric pressure must be 0.001 mm of Hg, and potential difference between the anode and cathode is minimally 10,000 volts. Then only this, from this cathode there will be discharge of rays. So if not pressure is normal inside the discharge tube, that is 1 atm, that 1 atm is normal pressure. If there is normal pressure inside the discharge tube, even if high voltage is there, then also nothing will be observed. If atmospheric pressure, if the pressure inside the discharge tube is 1 atm, that is normal pressure, then nothing will be observed, means no emission of cathode rays, no emission of rays from cathode, even if high voltage is there, then also. But if the potential difference inside the discharge tube is 10,000 volts and the pressure inside the discharge tube is 0.001 mm of Hg, if pressure inside the discharge tube is 0.001 mm of Hg, then only from this cathode rays will be emitted. So once again, I'll repeat the same. How cathode rays can be produced? Cathode rays can be produced from the cathode and due to the bombardment of the molecules of the gas inside this discharge tube by the high speed electrons which are emitted from the cathode. But after some time, they start originating from the space between cathode and anode. Now see, this is about the production of cathode rays. So if pressure is normal, that is 1 atm, then no emission of rays from the cathode will be observed. Nothing will be observed, even if high voltage is there, then also. But if pressure is 0.001 mm of Hg, then only gas emits light, and color of light depends upon the nature of the gas. Color of the light depends upon the nature of the gas. Which gas?
Sir, here pressure is 0.001 mm means pressure will be high or low, sir?
Second condition. Second condition. This was first condition. This is second condition. And what about the third condition? If pressure is 10 to the power minus 4 atm, if pressure inside the discharge tube is 10 to the power minus 4 atm, then this discharge tube, walls of the discharge tube opposite to cathode, this walls of discharge tube opposite to cathode starts glowing with a faint greenish light called fluorescence. If there is inside the discharge tube, pressure is 10 to the power minus 4 atm, then walls of the discharge tube opposite to this cathode, walls of the discharge tube opposite to this cathode, it starts glowing with a faint greenish light called fluorescence. It is due to the bombardment of the glass walls of the tube. It is due to the bombardment of the glass walls of the tube by the rays emitted from the cathode. And these rays are called cathode rays. So when there will be 10 to the power pressure inside the discharge tube is 10 to the power minus 4 atm, walls of this discharge tube will start glowing with a faint greenish light called fluorescence. It is due to bombardment of the glass walls of the tube by the rays emitted from the cathode. So this is about the production of cathode rays. Now we will see the properties of cathode rays. This was about the experiment of cathode rays. Now we will see the properties of cathode rays. And who studied properties of cathode rays? Properties of cathode rays. Who studied properties of cathode rays? Sir J.J. Thomson. But cathode rays was discovered by William Crookes. And Sir J.J. Thomson studied the properties of cathode rays. Cathode rays always travel in a straight line. Cathode rays always travel in a straight line. Travels in a straight line. Cathode rays always travel in a straight line. Cathode rays, if you will be keeping some object there on the path of the cathode rays, then cathode rays will be Shriram, you are there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So travels in a straight line. What does it mean? It means that cathode rays, when some object will be kept on the path of the cathode rays, then cathode rays will be casting shadow of that object. What does it mean? Means travels in a straight line. Cathode rays travel in a straight line. How you can prove it? That cast shadow. So any rays can cast shadows if it travels in a straight line, then only. Then second property, it rotates a light paddle wheel. Cathode rays rotates a light. Cathode rays rotates a light paddle wheel. What does it mean? It means cathode rays have mechanical energy. So cathode rays since
Sir, these have particles, no, sir?
Pardon?
Sir, or we can say that these rays have some particles which makes the wheel to spin.
Yeah. That is what the meaning is. Now, mechanical energy is there. That's why it can work on that light paddle wheel, and that light paddle wheel will start rotating. Now, these cathode rays are made of negatively charged. These cathode rays are made of negatively charged particles. Negatively charged particles. These particles are called electrons. And since these rays are made of negatively charged particles, so will be deflected in both electric and magnetic field. Electric and magnetic
Sir, can
field.
these conduct electricity?
No, cathode rays are made of electrons, are made of negatively charged particles, and these cathode rays, in when it will be passed through the electric field, it will be deflected due to this attraction or repulsion towards the oppositely or similarly charged particles. So when it will be passed through electric and magnetic field, then there will be deflection. There will be deflection in the movement in the flow of this negatively charged particles, that is called cathode rays. So next property, cathode rays causes ionization, causes ionization of gases, causes ionization of gases, means these cathode rays are charged. Then these cathode rays affects photographic plate, affects these cathode rays affects photographic plate, that is known as forming, that is known as forming. These cathode rays produces heating effect. These cathode rays produces heating effect when made to strike on a metal foil. So when cathode rays falls on a metal foil, produces heating effect. These cathode rays can penetrate thin aluminium foil. Can penetrate thin aluminium foil. Can penetrate thin aluminium foil. Thin metal foils, it can be
Sir,
any
are
metal.
these similar to
And
alpha, beta, and gamma radiation?
no, that those are radioactive radiations. Those are radioactive radiations and are means nuclear radiations. Cathode rays are not nuclear radiations. So those are nuclear radiations, alpha, beta, gamma rays. And if suppose these cathode rays, if these cathode rays falls on an anti-cathodic material, what this is? This is anti-cathodic material. For example, ebonite rod, or it can be wolfram or copper or molybdenum, etc. This anti-cathodic material rod, that is ebonite rod, or it can be wolfram, or it can be copper or molybdenum, etc. When these cathode rays falls on this anti-cathodic material, then produces X-rays. Produces X-rays. So X-rays are produced due to the secondary effect of cathode rays. These are cathode rays. When cathode rays it strikes on anti-cathodic material, then produces X-rays. So X-rays are produced due to the secondary effect of cathode rays. When these cathode rays strike on the surface of hard metal made of anti-cathodic materials such as ebonite rod or wolfram or copper or molybdenum, then X-rays are produced. That time these rays were unknown, so they named it X-rays. Since it was unknown now, so in maths, this unknown quantity is known as X. So this was discovered by Rontgen. Rontgen discovered X-rays. So according to Rontgen, X-rays are produced due to the secondary effect of cathode rays. He discovered these X-rays. These when these alpha rays, this was about X-rays. When these alpha rays strike against the glass surface or screen coated with zinc sulfide plate. When these cathode rays strike, on screen coated with ZNS, produces fluorescence. So this was all about cathode rays. As cathode rays are produced from the cathode, obviously, and are made of negatively charged particles. And when you provide pressure 0.001 mm of Hg, and potential difference between the two electrodes will be minimally 10,000 volts, then in that case, this cathode rays will start traveling from cathode to anode, and the properties of cathode rays are already written here. So,
Sir, and does
yeah.
the proper characteristics of this cathode also depend here?
Cathode rays characteristics depends upon
Sir,
what you are
does the
asking.
characteristics, sir, like if we are having a cathode of copper, will there be
Yeah.
any change in the cathode ray if we'll be using platinum? Like, is there any difference
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
difference in the material?
of course. Yeah, yeah, of course, this temperature, this pressure and potential difference will be required. Some metals will lose electrons with relatively greater ease, and some metals will lose electron with relatively greater difficulty. So that depends. So obviously, if we will be using
Sir,
a
and
metal
one
which
more,
is
sir.
having a higher, let me finish. If
Yes,
a metal is having a higher electrode potential, what does it mean? Higher electrode potential means we'll be losing electron with relatively greater difficulty. So obviously, ideal noble gases and noble metals will be losing electron with relatively greater difficulty because their electrode potential will be higher. So if a highly reactive metal, then electron will be easily. So that will be affected on their electrode potential.
yes, sir.
Good. Yeah,
Sir,
please
and
tell
one
me.
more doubt was, as you said that these rays are formed by some bombardment, no, sir? So this
Yeah.
bombardment is done in the electrode or on the zinc sulfide coating?
No, this bombardment of electrons will be there with the molecules of the gases. As I told you there in the beginning, bombardment of the molecules of the gas on the molecules of the gas, there will be due to the bombardment of the molecules of the gas, this inside the discharge tube by the high speed electrons. So then only these cathode rays will be emitted from the cathode and will be traveling towards the anode. Initiation will be done from that only. And once when sufficient cathode rays will be there, then instead of this all, after some time, that is what I told you there at the beginning, after some time, they'll start originating from the space between cathode and anode. But initially, origination is there from the cathode only. Electrons will be coming from cathode only. Then those high
Yes,
speed electrons will be bombarding with the molecules of the gases which is there inside the discharge tube. Inside the discharge tube, if vacuum is there, then also nothing will be observed. And if high pressure is there, then also nothing will be observed. So electron won't be, if vacuum is there inside the discharge tube, then also electrons won't be able to travel. And if 1 atm pressure or normal pressure is there, then also electrons won't be able to travel. Electrons can travel only if the pressure is low, that is 0.0018 mm of Hg, then only electrons can travel. Otherwise,
sir, and
electrons.
does it depend on the gases? Like
Yeah,
hydrogen is there?
yeah, that depends upon gases also. In the beginning, I told you that depends upon the nature of the gas also. In second point, I told you this, that if the pressure inside the discharge tube is 0.001 atm gases, atm, then gas emits light, and color of light depends upon the nature of the gas. Different colors will be observed that depending upon the nature of the gas. In that advertisement, no signboards now, different colors are observed because of difference in gases. Blue, green, red, all these different colors are there in blue signboards now. So because of the gases only.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So this was all about the properties of cathode rays. Like as a high-speed cathode rays strike molecules of gas placed in the discharge tube, they knock out one or more electrons from it and results in formation of positive ions. So as cathode rays are there in the this one, anode rays are also there. So that is called anode rays, canal rays, or positive rays. So anode rays, canal rays, or positive rays. So anode rays or canal rays or positive rays. As cathode rays are there like that, anode rays or canal rays or positive rays are also there. When high-speed cathode rays strike molecules of gas placed in the discharge tube, they knock out one or more electrons. See, as I told you there in the beginning, when high-speed cathode rays, these cathode rays, which are traveling from cathode to anode, these high-speed cathode rays, when strike with the molecules of gas, strike with the molecules of the gas. This is suppose thermal gas. These cathode rays strikes on the molecule of gases. Then what will happen from these gases? Electrons will be knocked out. It can be one or more. So obviously, this gas, after losing electron, will become into positive. And they knock out one cathode rays knock out one or more electrons from the gaseous molecules and results in the formation of positive ions in the space between this cathode and this anode. This is anode, as I told you there in the cathode ray discharge tube experiment. So between the space inside the discharge tube, between the space between this cathode and anode, inside the discharge tube, these gases will start losing electrons and will get converted into positive ions. These positive ions will pass through the perforated cathode. These positive ions will be passed through the perforated. These positive ions will be passed through the perforated. Fine holes are there between the on this cathode rays on this cathode. So these positive ions will pass through the perforated cathode and appear as positive rays because comprised of positive particles only. And when electric discharge is passed through the gas under high pressure, its molecules are dissociated into atoms and the positive atoms constitute the positive rays. Obviously, these rays appears as these rays are coming out from these perforated from this perforated cathode and will be appearing as it is coming from anode and will be positive rays. As cathode rays are having properties like that, anode rays will also be having the same property. Just what the difference between them is cathode rays are made of negatively charged particles called electrons and anode rays are made of positive ions. So positive ions, that is due to the conversion of gases into positive ions after losing electrons. And why gases are losing electrons? Because these high-speed cathode rays are striking on these gases, due to which these gases will be knocking out their electrons. So this was about anode rays or canal rays or positive rays. As you have said, the properties of cathode rays like that, anode rays will also be having the same property, just nature will be opposite. Cathode rays, as I told you, made of negative charged particles and anode rays will be made of positive charged particles. Now see, after this all, We will be talking about the nature of the radiation. Next topic is nature of radiation. Nature of radiations. What are radiations? How will define radiations? How will define radiations? What about the nature of radiation? Anybody can answer this? Can anyone give answer for this?
The electromagnetic waves.
Yeah,
Sir,
electromagnetic
these
waves.
are also similar to cathode rays, no, sir. So these also can spin the wheel.
Yeah, but how you will define radiations?
But these are positively charged. These are
Which
positively
one?
charged.
Radiations. Radiations are positively charged. You are saying this.
No, sir,
Hello.
I'm saying the particles which are moving in this radiation are positively charged.
Okay. Okay, fine. I'll tell you. This was there in our class 7. Fine. This was there in our class 7. The name of that chapter was conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction, convection, and radiation. Name of that chapter in class 7th was this: conduction, convection, and radiation. See, if the transfer of heat is through solid, then that process is called conduction. Then it's called conduction. If the transfer of heat is through solid surface, is through solid material, then it is called conduction. And if the transfer of heat is through liquid and gases, then it is called convection. If the transfer of heat is through liquid and gases, then it's called convection. And through vacuum or space, then it is called radiation. So if there is transfer of heat or energy through vacuum, through space, then that is called radiation. What does it mean? Means for radiation to travel or any rays to travel, no medium is required. But here solid medium is required, and here liquid and gaseous medium will be required to travel. But radiations do not require any medium to travel. This is what the meaning of radiation is. Is it okay? This was there in our class 7th science. The name of that chapter was conduction, convection, and radiation. So is this okay? I think Anu was telling this. Anu, you are saying that electromagnetic, na? So radiations are electromagnetic in nature. Radiations, here I have written radiations, but you can write electromagnetic also.
I was not.
Pardon? Oh, you were not saying this?
Adi Lakshmi has said, I think, sir.
Oh, okay, fine. So radiations, or you can say electromagnetic radiations, both are one and the same thing. So electromagnetic radiations or radiations do not require any medium to travel, even in space also. So solar radiations, cathode rays, anode rays, all these are radiations. Fine, all these are radiations. So light coming from sun, so that is solar radiation. So because it does not require any medium to travel. So this was the definition for radiation. So before starting nature of radiation, first we will discuss about the corpuscular theory of light. Corpuscular theory of light. You know corpuscular theory of light. Was given by Newton. According to corpuscular theory of Newton, according to corpuscular theory of light given by Newton, light is a stream of particles. Light is a stream of particles. Light is a stream of particles. Light is a stream of particles, and this corpuscular theory can explain reflection and refraction. Can explain reflection and refraction of light. But can't explain interference and diffraction. Interference and diffraction. You know what interference is? What interference is? See, this is one wave. And if second wave also moving there in the same direction, then this is called interference. This will be constructive resultant. This will be constructive overlapping. Constructive overlapping. So resultant will be more stronger. But if it moves there in the opposite direction, then resultant will be zero. Resultant will be zero. This is interference. If two waves moves there in the same direction, then that is called interference. And if two waves move there in the opposite direction, one is going up and second is going down. So resultant will be zero. Here, resultant will be zero. It is destructive overlapping of rays. So this is called diffraction. If two cars in night, if two cars are moving there in the same direction, then vision will be more distinct now. If using headlight, then vision will be more distinct. But if two cars are coming from opposite direction, then here you will be, this will be dark now, this will be blurred, this will be dark. And if both are moving there in the same direction, then here vision will be more distinct using headlight. But if coming there from two opposite directions and using headlight, then this will be, that's why you are using dipper now, so that you can see the you can see in the opposite direction. So this is called diffraction and this is called interference. So interference and diffraction could not be explained by this corpuscular theory of, could not be explained by this corpuscular theory of light. So since was unable to explain, so then they gave wave theory of radiation. Wave theory of radiation. Who gave wave theory of radiation? Maxwell. Who gave wave theory of radiation? Maxwell was given by wave theory of radiation. And according to Maxwell, radiation travels in the form of wave. Radiation travels in the form of wave. Waves are continuous now, so continuity will be there. And one wave can interfere another wave now. So waves have these three properties: have continuity, can interfere, and third, delocalized. Delocalized waves do not have any their specific position now. So one wave can interfere another wave now. So that is what the meaning is, delocalized. And that's what you have said, can interfere. And in waves, there will be continuity. There won't be any gap. in waves. So this theory was given by wave theory was given by Maxwell. According to Maxwell's wave theory of radiation, radiation travels in the form of wave. Radiation travels in the form of wave. So by using this theory, interference and diffraction could be explained. Interference and diffraction, interference and diffraction could be explained by using this wave theory of radiation, but photoelectric effect, and black body radiation could not be explained. Photoelectric effect and black body radiation could not be explained by this wave theory of radiation. So there was need of another theory which can explain this photoelectric effect and black body radiation also. So listen this very carefully, that since wave theory of radiation can explain interference and diffraction but could not be able to explain black body radiation and photoelectric effect, so was discarded. This wave theory of radiation shows that radiations can interfere, are delocalized, and have continuity. Davison and Germer's experiment confirms the wave nature of electron. This question was there in IIT. Which experiment confirmed the wave nature of electron? Wave nature of light, or radiation, or electron. All are one and the same thing. Here you have written nature of radiation, but instead of nature of radiation, you can write nature of electron also. You can write nature of light also. All are one and the same thing. So wave theory of radiation or wave theory of electron. Davison and Germer and Germer's experiment confirmed the wave nature of radiation. So you know this is amplitude. This is amplitude of the wave. This is amplitude of the wave, and this is wavelength. This is wavelength, means that is the distance covered by the single wave, and this one is amplitude. That height is amplitude. So interference, as I have told you, interaction of two waves is interference, and formation of light and dark band, that is called diffraction. So now since this theory was unable to explain photoelectric effect and black body radiation, so there was need of another theory which can explain black body radiation and photoelectric effect too.
Sir,
Sir, Planck and Maxwell both are same or different?
What? Planck and
Maxwell, both are different or a name of same person, sir?
No. Actually, see, Maxwell and Max Planck. Maxwell and Max Planck are two different persons. It is not Planck, it is Max Planck. Is it okay? I'll tell you. Just wait, in this next theory, we'll be talking about that only. See, since Maxwell's theory, that is wave theory of radiation, was unable to explain photoelectric effect and black body radiation. So there was need of another theory which can explain photoelectric effect and black body radiation. So next is quantum or particle theory of radiation. Quantum or particle theory of radiation. Who gave this theory? Max Planck. Who gave this theory? Max Planck. Maxwell gave wave theory of radiation, and Max Planck gave quantum or particle theory of radiation. So are two different persons.
we have given two scientists names, sir. Davison and one more gas, something was there, no, sir?
Germer's. Davison and Germer's experiment. It confirmed the wave nature of electron. This question was there in IIT. So usually I need not to discuss questions separately, because in my notes I will be discussing all those questions. So if you'll be writing down all these points now, so you need not to do all those questions too where these points will be used. So this point was there in ITJEE. So Max Planck gave quantum theory of radiation and Maxwell gave wave theory of radiation. According to Max Planck's quantum theory or particle theory of radiation, radiation travels in the form of here I am saying radiation, you can write electron, you can write electron, you can write light also. In every case, answer will be same. So if in 11th class, your first year examination, they will be asking you quantum or particle theory of electron, then you won't be using radiation and light. And if they will be asking you quantum theory of light, then you won't be using electron and radiation. So according to this quantum theory or particle theory of radiation, radiation travels in the form of particles, or you can say small bundles of energy. Small bundles of energy. Small bundles or small packets of energy called quanta. Small bundles or packets of energy called quanta. So radiation travels in the form of small particles, small bundles of energy, or travels in the form of particles called quanta. What's the difference between wave? In wave, this is wave. This is wave. In wave, crust and trough are there, and continuity is there. But in this quantum theory of radiation, radiation travels in the form of small packets of energy. Radiation travels in the form of particles. Fine. See here, particles are more. Here, particles are little less. This is compression. This is compression. This is rarefaction. But in wave, crust and trough is there. So there crust and trough, here compression and rarefaction. There continuity is there, but here see gap is there now. So there you wrote continuity. In waves, continuity is there, but in quantum or particle theory, discontinuity will be there. And particles are localized, means their position is fixed. And without dislocating one particle from its position, another particle can't move through that. So one particle without dislocating another particle from its position can't move further. So that what does it means? Can't interfere. Without interfering, one particle can't travel. So in quantum theory, or you can say particles theory or particles, there will be discontinuity, will be localized and can't interfere. Without interfering, one particle can't move further. But in waves, continuity was there, were delocalized from one wave, another wave can pass through without interfering it, so can interfere. So this was the difference between wave and particle. See here, compression, rarefaction is there according to this quantum or particle theory of radiation, which was given by Max Planck. Radiation travels in the form of small bundles or small packets of energy called quanta. So by using this quantum theory or particle theory of radiation, we can explain photoelectric effect and black body radiation. Black body radiation and photoelectric effect could be explained. So the first use of this quantum theory to explain the structure of atom. First use of this quantum theory to explain structure of atom. Was done by Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr first used this quantum theory to explain the structure of atom? This question was also there in IIT. So remember this point too. First use of quantum theory to explain the structure of atom was done by Niels Bohr. Then Einstein used this quantum theory. Einstein used this quantum theory. Einstein used this quantum theory to explain the photoelectric effect. Photoelectric effect was explained by Einstein by using this quantum theory. This is also an important point, and you will be getting this question also there in your previous year's question papers of IIT JEE. So Einstein used this quantum theory to explain the photoelectric effect. Scintillation method and photoelectric effect confirms the particle nature. This photoelectric effect, this photoelectric effect, this photoelectric effect and scintillation method confirms the particle nature of electron, confirms the particle nature of electron. Particle nature of electron. So all these points you should remember, scientist names, etc., or methods, etc. You should remember. Scintillation method confirms, scintillation method and photoelectric effect confirms the particle nature of electron. And Einstein used this quantum theory to explain photoelectric effect, and Bohr used this quantum theory first to explain the structure of atom. We should remember all these points along with the name of scientist, because was there in our previous years examinations there for IIT, JEE, etc. So one scientist was saying that radiation travels in the form of wave, and another scientist was saying that radiation travels in the form of particle. So were two different theories, because particles are different and waves are different. That is what I explained you here. This is what I explained you here. So what's the difference between wave and particle? So then B. Broglie said that radiation travels in the form of wave as well as in the form of particle. Then B. Broglie said that radiation travels in the form of wave as well as radiation travels in the form of wave as well as in the form of particle. So this is de Broglie's dual nature of radiation. What next is de Broglie's dual nature of radiation. I want to clarify this point. Your topic is this, but just listen very carefully, because this question is also there in your previous year's examination for IIT JEE. Dual nature of radiation. Dual nature of radiation and dual nature of matter are two different things. Means theory is same, topic is same, just instead of you won't be using matter, you won't be using matter there in dual nature of radiation, and if it is dual nature of matter, then you won't be using radiation. So that's the difference. That's all, nothing else. So here I want to explain you that who gave dual nature of radiation and who gave dual nature of matter. Dual nature of matter was given by de Broglie, and dual nature of radiation was given by Einstein. It's little difficult for us to remember now. So what you should do to memorize this, what you can do, engineer Engineer. Engineer means Einstein gave dual nature of radiation. And what doctors do after MD? Doctors do after MD, that is DM. De Broglie gave dual nature of matter. Dual nature of matter. Dual nature of matter was given by de Broglie and dual nature of radiation was given by Einstein. So we should remember these two things. But here, what you have written, de Broglie's dual nature of radiation. Are you getting my point? But actually, dual nature of radiation was given by Einstein and dual nature of matter was given by de Broglie. But you will be writing heading like this only. But what right, what correct is, if they will be asking you this question, you should write answer like this. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So just please remember. So what de Broglie has said, de Broglie stated that radiation travels in the form of wave as well as in the form of particle. Wave as well as in the form of particle too. This is de Broglie's dual nature of radiation. So this de Broglie's dual nature of radiation, this de Broglie's dual nature of radiation is based on Mulliken's oil droplet experiment. It is based upon Mulliken's oil droplet experiment. That experiment confirms that radiation is there. Radiation shows particle nature, and Mulliken's oil droplet experiment, this de Broglie's dual nature of radiation is based on Mulliken's oil droplet experiment and diffraction study. And diffraction study that shows that radiation is having wave nature. So diffraction proves that radiations are having wave nature, and Mulliken's oil droplet experiment proves that radiations are having particle nature. So by using these two, Mulliken's oil droplet experiment and diffraction study, de Broglie stated that radiation travels in the form of both radiation travels in the form of both wave as well as particle. That is called de Broglie's dual nature of radiation. So what next is, this is Einstein's, this is Einstein's mass defect equation or mass energy relationship, mass defect equation
Yes.
or mass energy relationship, mass energy relationship. Here E is energy, M is mass, C is velocity. Here E is energy, M is mass, C is velocity. This is Einstein's mass defect equation. There is one more equation, E is equal to h nu, that is Planck's equation. What Planck's equation is? Planck's equation, E is directly proportional to nu. E is energy and nu is frequency. Energy of radiation is directly proportional to frequency of radiation. If you remove this direct proportional sign, then what you will be getting is equal to and h. H is Planck's constant. In entrance, they asked about the exact value of h. So what options they gave was very, very close. 6.625 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule into second. But in options, in all the four options, values were same, numerical value was same, but this unit was different. Right answer is 6.625 10 to the power minus 34 joule into second. But in that question, they gave joule per second option also and was wrong. So are you getting my point? You should not only remember the exact value, but you should highlight units too. From there also they can ask you question. So there was direct question what the value of h or Planck's constant is. So you should remember this all, and both are energy na E, so you can equate both equations. And you know gamma is equal to c upon lambda. Frequency is equal to velocity of light upon wavelength of light. So you'll equate both of them. Mc square is equal to hc upon lambda. Instead of gamma, you will be getting c upon lambda. We will cancel out c. What you will get? Mc is equal to h upon lambda. What mc is? Mass into velocity. Product of mass and velocity is called momentum. Product of mass and velocity is called momentum. So you can write P is equal to h upon lambda. Also, lambda is equal to h upon P. So as they will be asking you a question from that point of view, you will be writing this all. So MC is equal to h upon lambda. Just to see tomorrow, for tomorrow, there is a homework. Calculate wavelength of electron. Calculate wavelength of electron. I need this numerical. Fine. So you should try to solve this numerical and we'll discuss. Just please remind me before going further. Just to remind me there in the beginning of the class, what will be the wavelength of the electron? This numerical I gave. So you should remind me. Fine. Tomorrow class will be, what will be the time of class? 8:30 or what will be the time?
8:45.
8:45. Before that, is there any class? Before 8:45, is there any class? Anyone is having class before 8:45?
Sir, tomorrow we are having the 4 classes, sir.
No, first class will be 8:45 or before that no class is there.
Sir, I think the class will start from 8:45.
Okay, so can I place it? Can I schedule it for 8:15 or 8:30 like this? Because 8:45 I'll be having another offline class. If you don't mind. All of you are agreeing this? Should I schedule for 8:15 or 8:30 like this? 8:30 will it be okay? 8:15 or 8:30? I think it won't be making any difference now. Hello, please let me know. Is it okay for you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll schedule it for 8:15 around. Fine. Okay. Thank you very much. Just please try to solve this numerical, and this numerical you won't be getting there in books. So we'll be doing questions like this so that you'll be having habit of. Actually, IIT JEE is not difficult, but whatever questions you will be getting there in IIT JEE, you will be getting those questions first time there in your life. So that's why you won't be having habit of solving such questions and will be feeling little difficult. So we'll discuss tomorrow about this wavelength of the electron. Fine. Fine. Thank you very much. Have a very, very good weekend. Fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye.